Are there words about a pandemic at this point?
No, we're not at all, and we have it totally under control.
We think we have it very well under control. We pretty much shut it down. It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle, it will disappear. We can hold that down, as we're saying, to 100,000. It's a horrible number. We all together have done a very good job.
As the nation surpassed 4 million COVID cases and over 145,000 deaths this week.
It's something that we have tremendous control of, and I think we're going to win faster than people think, I hope.
You're going to lose a number of people to the flu, but you're going to lose more people by putting a country into a massive recession or depression. The virus is going to disappear. I feel about vaccines like I feel about tests. This is going to go away without a vaccine.
The coronavirus itself, SARS-CoV-2, is here to stay.
As the U.S. surpasses a staggering 400,000 deaths, the incoming CDC director says another 100,000 could die in the next month.
It is what it is.
It's going to fade away. We're in very good shape.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your response to this crisis?
I'd rate it at 10. I think we've done a great job.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Up the nation. Waldorf Nation, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's Monday. It's the start of a brand new week. Hopefully everybody had a fantastic weekend. We are back to the news. So, got a bunch of stuff. We got, of course, there. What a bad time for my batteries to go out. Ah! Hey, you know what? We do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. We do it live. I had no idea my battery was going to run out. So much for rechargeables, right? All right. Anyway, live show. Live show. Fuck it. Do it live. Do it live. Oh, you think lack of batteries is going to stop me? Never. You're never going to stop the show. Anyway, sorry about that. I need to check my batteries more often. But I was trying to get all the stuff ready for today's show. And I was like, oh shit, I'm behind. And I do all this for all you, of course, to bring you a good show. So, all right. Anyway, sorry about that. Don't worry, we got a great show. So why don't we just kind of get into it here. We've got Fox News and Fox News using Colin Powell to push anti-vax sentiments. Fun. It didn't take long for the people over at Fox News to use the death of former Secretary of State Colin Powell to attack vaccines. In fact, here is Fox host Will Kane, and, well, watch.
You brought up COVID. Look, this day will be a day for many things, for remembering the man, for remembering the leader that was lost. It's also a day to understand the implication on everyday Americans. And the reports are he died from complications of COVID. The family has made a point in their post on Facebook this morning that Colin Powell was fully vaccinated. And as Americans out there wonder what lies ahead for them, and they search and they need truth moving forward, we're seeing data from across the world. We're seeing data from Europe, from the United Kingdom, that fully vaccinated people are being hospitalized and fully vaccinated people are dying from COVID. And here we have a very high-profile example that is going to require more truth from our government, from our health leaders as well, as we talk about this story on a day when state after state and institution after institution are pushing mandates for vaccination.
All right, so, and there it is. Oh, would you look at that? Well, we got to have the truth. We got to have the truth. The truth is out there. I mean, literally. and not in the, you know, like X-Files way. No. It is out there. Everybody paying attention knows that there is limitations to the vaccine. Yes, we know that breakthrough cases can happen, but they're rare. We also know that deaths from those breakthrough cases can happen, once again, quite rare. This is all publicly stated by the CDC. Everybody knows this is not nefariously hidden knowledge. Okay, like the deep state is not hiding the fact that there are breakthrough infections, okay? They're not hiding the fact that, oh my God, some of these breakthrough infections can be very serious, and that the Delta variant is very serious. No, they've all been very, very upfront about that. But see, understand that if you watch Fox News, they go out of their way to be like, oh my God, did you know there were breakthrough cases? If you have had a vaccine, you can still get sick from COVID. You mean it doesn't work 100% of the time? It's not like some magic shield that repels everything COVID related? Oh my God, then it must not be worth it at all. Thing is, no one's ever claimed that it is 100% effective. No one has said it. The fact is that breakthrough infections, again, are incredibly rare. Out of the more than 187 million people who have been fully vaccinated in the U.S. as of October 12th, 7,178 people, or 0.004%, had died from a breakthrough infection. 0.004%. Wow. Of that group, by the way, and Colin Powell would fall in this group, 85% of them were over the age of 65. It's almost as if, I don't know, older people are more susceptible to disease due to other conditions that weaken your immune systems. Also, just the fact that when you get older, your immune system starts to weaken anyway. Sucks. And so, I don't know, you know, it's almost as if, I mean, perhaps if they knew anything about the human body, maybe that would make sense to them. But again, Fox News and our audience revel in ignorance and never tell anyone the whole truth. In fact, Powell was previously diagnosed with something called multiple myeloma, which is a type of blood cancer that tends to hurt the body's ability to fight infection. Weird. So, you know, you could say, oops, but you know what? It's not an oops. This is a pattern. And we see this with other things too. And they'll use whatever example, right? For example, gun regulations, right? So conservatives say, well, if gun control doesn't work, it doesn't stop 100% of all gun crimes. And it also doesn't stop 100% of other old crimes because somebody shot somebody with a bow and arrow or hit them with a stick. Obviously, gun control doesn't work at all. Or when they use it against anti-poverty programs. See, you didn't eliminate 100% of all poverty. Therefore, we shouldn't do anything about poverty because it doesn't work when you throw money at it. It's this, and I've seen this logical fallacy that conservatives use over and over and over again. Okay, that if something doesn't work 100% of the time or meet a stated goal, then it's obviously worthless and you should completely throw it out. They don't understand that you can make progress and actually, for example, cut child poverty in half. Well, you've still cut child poverty in half. And they say, well, if you haven't cut it by 100% using the resources that you have, well, then you shouldn't throw the resources at all. But in reality, of course, they don't want to solve child poverty. They don't want to solve poverty at all. They want to give all the money to the rich, to their donors. And so, and by the way, they also use their power to undercut anything that would actually help, regular people. That would actually help them achieve goals to help their voters. And so they get into power and they say, well, first they say, it doesn't work. And then they get into power and they make sure that they're right. They do everything in their power to make sure that they're right. And look, the Delta variant is now the main variant in the United States. It's now the main version of COVID. And look, there's a reason. Fox News continues to muddy the waters on vaccines, on vaccine effectiveness, which creates, of course, hesitation. And then they create this, as I said, this hesitation on vaccines, and then they get to go around when the numbers explode and blame the Biden administration for, how could you let this happen? You're doing such a terrible job on COVID. Let me tell you, if you elect us Republicans, you let us get back into power, we can actually solve that, wink, wink. Come on, this is ridiculous. Look, and by the way, unvaccinated Americans are 11 times more likely to die from COVID than the unvaccinated. That's a stone cold fact. You hear Fox News talking about that? You hear Fox News bringing up that stat? No, not at all. All right. So now we have more. So we have Fox host John Roberts, who tweeted this out. He said, the fact that Colin Powell died from a breakthrough COVID infection raises new concerns about how effective vaccines are long term. Now, John Roberts is supposed to be a quote-unquote journalist. That didn't sound, that tweet was missing a lot of context here, right? Again, Powell was immunocompromised and therefore more susceptible to infection. Now, that tweet got owned so hard that he had to delete it. And then he offered this 3-part explanation. Take a look. I deleted my tweet about the tragic death of Colin Powell because many people interpreted it as anti-vax. It was not. I was excited to get vaccinated, hoping it would help speed a return to normal life. I also did a PSA on Fox encouraging vaccination for those able. As we all know, the FDA is now recommending boosters for certain people, and I personally know a number of people who have had breakthrough infections, some of them quite troubling. Yes, Powell had myeloma, but I was still stunned to hear of his passing from COVID. We live in the same town, and we would occasionally run into each other at the local sandwich shop. His death is a loss for our community and our country. I plan to get a booster as soon as possible. Now, if he knew anything about anything, if he was an actual journalist, he would not have been stunned at this. Again, Colin Powell was at risk, more so than the average person, because he had that condition. Again, journalist, right? Journalist. So now, let me go here. See, again, you can't leave out the context. Okay, you don't. The guy did not include, and again, it's the same thing with that Will Cain. They did not include the fact that vaccines are the most effective at preventing hospitalization and death. And again, they didn't include the cancer, his age, large factors here. And yet, for somebody who claimed to be a journalist, did not understand how context actually matters. And the worst thing about this, too, is that no matter what retractions or anything, and again, you got the deleted tweet there, but nobody said, Will Cain hasn't come out and said, oh, context, right? Context. because they don't need context on Fox News. The message that they planned to deliver was already delivered. That audience is going to ignore any nuance and think, well, Colin Powell was vaccinated and he died. Therefore, vaccines obviously don't work. We should get rid of the mandates. Because the mandates are only about control, right? Only about control. They just want to control my life. They just want to run my life. By the way, women in Texas can't get an abortion because we're, quote unquote, pro-life. Give me a break. Give me a break. And I can guarantee a large amount of the conservatives and anti-vaxxers in general are going to take this news like that. Now, one more point here. It is not surprising to me to see Republicans use one of their own to spread dangerous disinformation. After all, Colin Powell is known for spreading outright lies about Iraq and weapons of mass destruction in order to lead us into a disastrous war. Make no mistake, the man is a war criminal. Absolutely, 100%. I will not mourn this man's passing. But let me just say, I will be damned. I will be damned if I let them get away with using his death as a way to spread their nonsense anti-vax bullshit. All right. So, pretty clear. Pretty clear. Go to Dennis Prager. This is fun. No. Hold on. Much better. Get my right sidebars. I really need to fire that tech guy. He is kind of sucks. All right. Stunning news. Dennis Prager, the creator of PragerU, which by the way is not a real university, has an announcement. He got COVID. But don't worry. He's letting everybody know that getting COVID was his plan all along. And so therefore, don't worry about it. He's going to be all right. So says Prager in this next video.
I'm broadcasting from my home because I'm not going into the station as I have COVID. I was tested positive last week, and I have been steadily improving. At no point was I in danger of hospitalization. I have received monoclonal antibodies. That's Regeneron. I have, of course, for years, a year and a half, not years, been taking hydroxychloroquine from the beginning with zinc. I've taken Z-Pak, the erythromycin, as the Zelenko protocol would have it. I have taken ivermectin. I have done what a person should do if one is not going to get vaccinated. It is infinitely preferable to have natural immunity than vaccine immunity. And that is what I hoped for the entire time. Hence, I so engaged with strangers, constantly hugging them, taking photos with them, knowing that I was making myself very susceptible to getting COVID, which is indeed, as bizarre as it sounded, what I wanted, in the hope that I would achieve natural immunity and be taken care of by therapeutics. That is exactly what has happened. It should have happened to the great majority of Americans. The number of deaths in this country owing to COVID is a scandal.
Wow. Okay. So, okay. A few things here. He does not sound good. Well, obviously, he's got COVID. If he's like, I feel much better. I feel so great. I've been taking all the stuff. Oh, really? By the way, on that, I love how he simultaneously admits that all that preventative crap that he was taking, the Z-Pack, the hydroxychloroquine, the horsey paste, all that stuff, I took all that and I still got sick. Weird. It's almost that it doesn't work. And you just admitted it, that it doesn't work because you were trying to get sick the whole time. You don't take preventatives if your whole goal is to get sick and get natural immunity. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. Again, you would think that this man is stupid, but no, he's not stupid. He's evil. Well, okay, maybe he's stupid and evil at the same time, because he says, and you heard it. Well, I mean, I was doing this so that I could get natural immunity, and then I could take the Regeneron. By the way, Regeneron, big funder of Ron DeSantis, the company behind Regeneron, that therapeutic, and also says this is what should have happened to everyone else. So wait, you're saying that everyone else should not have gotten vaccinated and had gotten COVID to develop quote-unquote natural immunity. Well, there's a little bit of a problem with getting natural immunity. You actually have to get COVID first and survive it. And which 700,000 Americans have not. 4 million people across the world did not. And so what he's suggesting is a massive, massive death toll that he was hoping that should have happened, but didn't because we had the vaccine. Amazing. That is amazing. I mean, they're openly saying, yes, more people should have died so that we all get quote unquote natural immunity. Well, why do that when the vaccine confers immunity? And a longer lasting immunity, by the way, than natural immunity. I mean, these guys, I would say the guy's out of his mind, but we all know, I mean, good. I think a lot of us know or are familiar with Dennis Prager and all the insane, disgusting things that he said. This guy was pro-slavery. I made a video literally defending slavery. And so I'm not at all surprised that he's putting out this absolutely dangerous garbage. Now, look, I'm not going to hope for the death of anybody or anything like that. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm actually kind of a decent person, unlike Dennis Prager. I'm just saying that if anything happens to him, or if he gets more sick, well, let's just say I'm not going to be too upset. Let's just say that. All right. Let's move on. Despite the constant attention, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz are not doing so well on fundraising. So now, I was going to say that they are terrible at fundraising, but I could have just stopped at the fact that they're just terrible and wrap up the whole segment. But I want to show you tell you some interesting things about their fundraising trip. According to Mother Jones, the PAC that they had created for this trip is broke. Pretty much. Now, this is despite the two spending the summer going around the country on this grand fundraising, America First tours, America First. Greene and Gaetz apparently did not live up to expectations when it came to fundraising. Apparently, just 6 months after founding this PAC, the fundraising committee they launched has about $13,000 in cash left. This is after raising $360,000 in its first 2 months. So now wait a minute. That's a big difference. $360,000, and they're left with $13,000. Where did all the money go? Where did it go? Did it just like fall out of their pockets? What happened? What happened? So now Mother Jones again explains this. They explained that first, there were multiple tour stops that were canceled over the summer, and only one rally in Iowa back in August that did not do very well. Currently, it was a financial bust. The group spent about $159,000 from July 1st to September 30th, but raised only about $57,000. Fail. Sad. And things aren't that much better for their own personal fundraising numbers. In fact, Greene, look, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she is good at fundraising by herself. And she had actually raised more than $8.8 million in her short career, in which she has, of course, done nothing. The most recent numbers filed by her campaign, however, shows her that her fundraising totals are increasingly eaten up by the costs of chasing donors and paying operatives and professional fundraising consultants and vendors that she hires. So she might be decent at, pretty good at raising money, but she's terrible at actually spending the money wisely. Well, wait a minute. I thought conservatives were supposed to be really, really smart, really intelligent with money, unlike the spendocrat libs. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene could serve fiscal responsibility. Oops. Turns out, not so much. So now, in fact, in the first 3 months of the year, her campaign spent about 43% of what it fundraised on all of those different things. So you think, wow, she's basically paying half of what she raised on all this different stuff that she used to try to raise money. But wait, it gets worse. That number then increased in the next 3 months to 59%. And for the past 3 months, the figure jumped to 70%. So she spent more than $1 million to try to bring in $1.5 million. Wow, that's really terrible. That's freaking awful. How do you do that? I mean, how are you so bad at managing your money for your campaign that you're spending over 70% of what you bring in on trying to get donors? Absolutely ridiculous. All right, but of course there's more. See, here's the thing. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is good at raising money from small dollar conservatives, right? So in fact, those who gave her less than $200 provided 75% of her money in the third quarter. Now, again, you look at the third quarter where she spent 70% of that money on the different vendors and all that stuff and consultants. Well, that means the majority of that went to just nonsense of those small dollar donations. So her small donors have just been sending their money literally into the pockets of consultants. In fact, one of them is named Isaiah Wortman, who was also Greene's campaign manager during her run last year. Well done. How does that feel? Any conservatives watching, any people who wanted to donate to Marjorie Taylor Greene, how does that feel? That most of your money went into the pocket of a highly paid consultant. You have to feel real stupid, right? Kind of swindled a little bit. Then again, if you're giving money to Marjorie Taylor Greene, you might not be the smartest person in the first place. And might believe in insane things like Jewish space lasers. So, I don't know. Now, the best part about this, one more thing. So now, they're getting these donations, right? They're getting this money off you, and they're also living large. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example, makes her congressional salary, along with other possible business opportunities, media speaking gigs, et cetera, et cetera. And so now that's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Now let's go to the best part, Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is an absolute mess. He is currently the target of a Department of Justice investigation over his role in alleged sex trafficking operation. So it turns out that maybe being a pedo is not so good for fundraising, even among Republicans, which I find for the modern Republican Party kind of surprising. And yet, According to campaign disclosures, like Greene, Gates had a strong start to the year, raising $1.8 million in the first quarter. After word of the investigation hit in April, his fundraising slowed. It dropped to $1.4 million. Unlike the first quarter, when he was able to make more money than he spent on fundraising, the second quarter saw his campaign spend about $500,000 more than it raised. The Gates campaign latest filing shows that his fundraising is all but dried up. He raised just $527,000 from July 1st to September 30th and spent far more, $627,000, trying to raise that money. So he's negative $100,000 in the hole. Oops. Gates' biggest expenses are direct mail and paying fundraising consulting costs to his vendors. In fact, those two things ate up about 60% of his total donations. The rest, of course. Now, earlier I asked, where's the money going? Did it fall out of their pocket? Well, again, a lot of it went to the consultants, but then a giant chunk of what was left also went to basically what's a glorified vacation. Gates' campaign spent lavishly on stays at hotels and resorts across the country. The campaign spent about $29,867 on lodging over July, August, and September, including $2,300 in early July at the Edgewater Beach Hotel in Naples, Florida, $2,100 in an ultra-luxury hotel in downtown Portland, and in early September, and almost $1,500 on a Kimpton Hotel in Cambridge, Massachusetts in August. Oh, oops. So, for Gates, this has been nothing but just a fancy vacation where he gets to travel around and not actually do anything. Again, how does it feel as a conservative donor to know that you have been paying for his fancy hotels? Don't you feel dumb? No, of course not, because you've given money to Marjorie Taylor Greene or Matt Gaetz. Come on. So now this is, I can actually find a little bit of a silver lining in this because, and for a couple of reasons. For one, it appears that Republican donors might have drawn a line at alleged sex trafficking. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Look, is that a low bar? Yes, very low bar. But this could also mean that people are getting tired of Marjorie Taylor Greene and her antics and her, really, more importantly, her lack of doing anything to help her constituents. I mean, what has she done for her voters in Georgia? She calls everything basically communism. The Biden plan, which is incredibly popular, the Build Back Better, that's a $3.5 trillion reconciliation package. No Republicans are in favor of this. And, you know, it's very, very popular, bipartisan, okay? So you look at the polls, it's really popular. And yet she refuses to do anything because it's communism. Oh, it's a Trojan horse, to sneak in the Green New Deal, which the Green New Deal is, of course, communism. So, yeah, not doing anything to help. All she does is just go around the country, spending your money on hotels, and then going on Steve Bannon's podcast and calling everything communism. That's what she does. Now, there is also one more possibility of why Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz are not raising as much money, and it could just be the fact that a lot of conservatives have decided to send their money to Donald Trump. Which, of course, again, stupid decision. Very, very dumb. Not smart. And also not good. Aren't they like rich? No. I'm talking about the small dollar donors, not the big corporate bundling donors, the CEOs and all that. Just a small donation. All right. Let's see. More stories. Don't forget she blows up campaign cars, cars for campaign purposes. Yeah, that's true. Very, very true. All right. So before I get into more of the rest of the stories here, I just want to thank some people. So I want to thank TYT, of course, for the very, very generous raid. Thank you. Hopefully you've been enjoying the show. Please give us a follow. And if you want to support the show, you can obviously gift subs, bits, and subscribe yourself. For example, Tahira Kathleen gifted a tier 1 community sub. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. All right. So let's get to some YouTube here. Virginia Thomas, aka Ice Dragon, says a fool and their money are soon parted. Very, very true. 100%. And then Francine Wilson, thank you for the very kind $3 super sticker. Appreciate that. Again, if you want to help the show, super chats, sending bits, and doing subs, another way that you can do it. Let's have some fun. There's nothing better than MAGA chuds destroying themselves to own the libs. In this case, destroying their business. That's what happened to Eddie Lubbock, who owns Eddie's Ristorante in Jupiter, Florida, who posted a sign a couple of weeks ago outside his Italian restaurant saying, "Only serving patriots in the USA. If you are still a Biden supporter, this restaurant is not for you." Sure, because apparently if you support Biden, your money doesn't spend the same as other money. Look, the last I knew, money was money, and it spends just the same, whether or not you're a Biden supporter or a Trump supporter. And I thought the main purpose of you running a business is to have people give you money. Apparently though, not for this guy who thought, no, I'm gonna keep people out of my restaurant. I'm gonna encourage people to not come to my restaurant so I can own the libs. Now, the funny thing about this is that it hilariously backfired. In fact, Lubbock told the newspaper that after he posted the first sign, quote, "I gained some customers, but I probably lost more people than I gained." I guess the message was too heavy for the guys on the left. Oh, you see, it was their fault. It's the left's fault. We just told them that you're not welcome here, that you shouldn't be eating here, and I can't believe they decided to listen to me. I guess, snowflakes, what are you going to do? We just told them not to show up, and they didn't show up, and now I'm so mad. But it's your fault. It's your fault. Right. No, generally, look, and this applies to everybody. If you tell me I'm not welcome, well then, yeah, I'm not going to show up. I'm going to be like, okay, I'll take my money somewhere else. Fuck off. I'm going to spend my money somewhere else. Maybe there's another business that is more deserving of my money that spends just the same as anyone else. But he said, and this is to this. Look, you've all probably noticed the conservative victimization whenever a stunt that they pull like this backfires. And so, first he says, "Well, the snowflake liberals. What are you gonna do, right? I told them not to show up, and they decided not to show up. That's their fault. Must be snowflakes. What are you gonna do?" But then said, "I can't believe they would treat my staff so badly. My hostess is 19 years old. People call her 100 times a day, and they curse at her. They're relentless." Look, I'm not buying it, but maybe that could be. It could be. Then again, people are don't treat staff very well, and I've certainly seen that before. And so, all right. Now the thing is, whose fault was that to set this up? It's not the server. Don't treat the server bad. She's just working and probably not getting paid enough to deal with the bullshit. So, if you're going to call that restaurant, be nice to the server. Just be nice to her. But again, the person who started this is the owner who decided to go out and intentionally piss a bunch of people off. Now, she unfortunately gets the brunt of that. That sucks. Poor hostess. Hopefully she gets either a pay rate or, she should probably get a better job. I hope somebody offers her a better job with better pay, dealing with better people. Okay? And again, maybe if her boss wouldn't have been such a dick, she would have been facing this alleged abuse. So now the restaurant's Yelp page was also filled with comments like, "Come for the biscotti, stay for the Benghazi." I like that. So now after that, Lubbock admits that, oh, that's fine. I might have made a mistake. Just a tiny one, though. Oh, okay. Well, so now you realize that, right? That maybe you shouldn't, as a business, purposely drive customers away with your bullshit, dog shit politics. Look, most people just want to eat. They just want to have lunch or they want to have dinner, not to get preached at by MAGA chuds. Now, of course, this restaurant, I don't know how they are in their mask and vaccination policy. I would assume negative on both. So, and considering how Lubbock is also not vaccinated and doesn't believe in masks, he said, "Oh, masks don't work. Masks don't work." Okay, well, you know what? That's another reason not to eat there. Your restaurant is just a den of COVID. I'm not gonna be there. I'm not gonna go there. I mean, if I lived in Florida, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna frequent that, even without this stupid, ridiculous sign. So, but anyway, he appeared to have not learned anything from this entire ordeal. This is according to Palm Beach Post columnist Frank Serabino, who noted that Lubbock recently replaced his sign with a new one, saying, "We are only serving patriots of the USA, vaccinated and unvaccinated." Question: in light of the Afghanistan debacle and the border crisis, do you still support Sleepy Joe and the corrupt White House administration? So now, is that to say that the Trump administration wasn't also corrupt? Because I got news for you, pretty corrupt. Also, by the way, Afghanistan was Trump's agreement. I actually agreed with that. Biden honored it, that agreement. Now, could the Afghanistan situation been smoother? Yes, I've talked about that before. But the important thing is, we shouldn't have been there. We were there for 20 years. It was a disastrous waste of time and money. And Trump gets credit for getting us out of there. Little bit of credit, like a crumb of credit. And Biden, of course, gets a crumb of credit for allowing us to continue that withdrawal. Good. That said, Serabino adds that turning away customers based on political views is, quote, hardly ever done because it's a self-destructive way to do business, which is obvious, and concludes that the restaurateur's myopia is a result of the right-wing media bubble he lives in. With, of course, Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, and all the, of course, right-wing radio talkers doing their hate radio, and et cetera. I'm not surprised to see this MAGA chud go out of his way to shoot himself in the foot in order to own the libs. And by the way, this grift continues. It's almost like they like to self-victimize because there's money in it. There's attention in it. And now the story is getting attention. What's to say that, he's not going to end up on Fox News later on? And doubly so as if he actually does end up losing the business. If the business fails, guy's going to turn around and say, "Oh, you can't believe cancel culture. Cancel culture and the left killed my business." And if that does happen, he's definitely going on Fox News. He's going to start a GoFundMe. It's going to make probably a lot of donations, etc. And of course, that's how this conservative grift works. Do something stupid and then declare yourself a victim of cancel culture. Step 3, profit. How it works. All right. Moving on. Let's go to Florida. More Florida, I should say. They really are America's dick. Yeah. A private school in Florida recently sent a letter to parents saying that if you vaccinate your kid is going to have to stay home for 30 days. Okay. So now this is the Centner Academy. Again, is it a private? It is a private school that is in a, I guess, fairly affluent area of Miami. And so the leadership sent this email to parents, which of course contained a lot of false claims that vaccinated people could pass on so-called harmful effects and have a potential impact on unvaccinated students and staff. So, okay. Not harmful effects from COVID-19. No. But harmful effects from the vaccine. That's insane. What harmful effects could somebody else get from you having a vaccine? As opposed to, of course, the harmful effects of people who are unvaccinated who get COVID and spread it around willy-nilly, right? So now David Centner, one of the school's co-founders, told the Washington Post that the policy is a precautionary measure based on, and I love his evidence, numerous anecdotal cases that have been in circulation. Oh, good. Is it like a chain email? Is that what you're referring to? Forward. Biden is whatever, vaccineterrible.com or whatever. I don't know. I'm guessing maybe he got onto egopatriotlovesguns.com or .org or whatever and saw this vaccine disinformation. It's like, oh, I got to write this down. Nailed it. Spike proteins literally flaking off like a lizard person's skin. Just, I mean, for every once in a while, you really gotta kind of bask in the stupid for a second, just to fully understand and appreciate it for what it is. Complete and utter mind-bending nonsense that just really, when you hear it, makes you lose all hope for humanity. How can you listen to this and not think, oh my God, these people exist and they walk among us. They walk among us. And I love how he says, well, I got my information from anecdotes. And so obviously, anecdotes, right? Oh yes, anecdotes, which are well known, of course, for being more accurate than science and scientific information, of course. I mean, all you got to do is just ask Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend's balls, and not the thousands of medical professionals who've done tireless work in studying on vaccinations and have proved the efficacy and safety of it. I mean, of course, they have to be wrong. I mean, science evidence, who needs it? Who needs it? You know what? Tucker Carlson told me I don't need it. Now, the whole thing is again, it's bonkers. It's ridiculous. What are you doing? You're putting people at risk. Now, Centner continued. He said, the school is not opining as to whether unexplained phenomena have a basis in fact. However, we prefer to err on the side of caution when making decisions that impact the health of the school community. Ah, yes. So some of their other decisions, by the way, are making sure that their teachers don't wear masks. And that the teachers, vaccinated teachers, do not have contact with the children at all. So, and yeah, here's the other thing, the irony, right? So they say that their school is based on the freedom of choice. And so that's, of course, to bring in anti-vaxxers and, anti-maskers and things into their school so they spend money and have this whole little COVID academy going on here. Can't wait to see what kind of genius, variants come out of that. Yay. But this, again, this so-called freedom comes with a 30-day penalty per shot for getting vaccinated. Now, again, that does not shed virus. You don't actually, the way the vaccine works in this case is there is no live virus in it. You can't shed it. There's nothing to shed. No living virus. Yet there was a math and science teacher that told their students that they shouldn't even hug their vaccinated parents for more than 5 seconds. Now, that same school, of course, provided all parents with mass exemption forms for the kids. So, again, they don't care about safety, and they certainly don't care about choice. And they're going out of that way. They're going out of their way to make sure that that school is actually more dangerous. And of course, they know it. They know it. And by the way, when state health department officials did visit for routine dining inspections, guess what? Teachers were told in a WhatsApp group to, oh, when the inspectors come, that's when you should wear the mask. You should wear the mask to fool them, you see. Fool them into thinking that we are actually taking precautions, when in reality, of course, we're not. Because as soon as they leave, you got to take the mask off. Oh, wait a minute, what happened to choice? What about a choice? No, not when people are watching. No choice. No choice in the matter. And one more thing to point out. Centner Academy, obviously private school, which means tuition, okay? So their tuition actually ranges from about $15,000 to nearly $30,000 per year. So now, if a student decides, or I should say if a family decides, you know what, the best course is to get vaccinated, right? Well, that child has to stay home for a month. Again, this is after each shot. And then, so now kids aren't cleared for the Janssen one shot. And so, you know, you're likely going to get the Moderna or the Pfizer, and that's a 2-shot deal. So one shot, 30 days. The second shot, another 30 days. And of course, if we ever get a booster, well, that's another 30 days on top of that. So now the scam here is, among many other things, that even when your kid's not in school, they're still getting charged tuition. So now at 30, let's take $30,000 a year. That's upward, right? Well, that equates to about $2,500 a month. So that means kid gets the 2-shot. That's $5,000 wasted of where the child is not in school. If there's a booster that is approved for children, and I'm sure there will be, in time, child gets the booster, that's another 30 days, that's $7,500 in wasted tuition. They just take it out of your pocket where your kid gets, I mean, I don't know I don't even know what they actually teach at the Centner Academy. It can't be good knowing the how the founders actually, you know, how they stand on science. And so they're getting gypped once and then they're getting gypped again. And they're signing up for it. And by the way, if those parents do work, which they probably do, and they need childcare because their kid gets vaxxed and then gets kicked out of school for 30 days, well, that's an additional cost to the parent as well. They got to pay for childcare too. But I guess that's what they signed up for. That, and of course, as some of you point out, to make all the vaccinated kids leave so they really can have a den of unmitigated COVID. It's almost like they're running their own kind of experiment there to see how many people can get infected, how many kids can get infected or their families can get infected at a time. And yet they're the ones that also call the vaccine experimental. Fascinating, very fascinating. But hey, you know what? Children, and to be fair, children are not as likely as adults to get hospitalized from the virus. They handle it better, and that's good, but they are a vector, which means they can pass it on to parents, family members, and that's bad because those parents might not be vaccinated, or they might be immunocompromised. But hey, apparently that's freedom. It's the kind of freedom we have in Florida. Freedom to get COVID and spread it around and maybe die. Well, too bad their freedom is holding the rest of the country back. All right. Go to the last story here. Joe Manchin. Are you sure the story is real? Yes, I am very sure the story is real. Over the weekend, Senator Joe Manchin, who is apparently the most powerful man in our broken system of government, released his demands. So he is holding up hostage the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, along with his co-conspirator, Senator Kirsten Sinema. And so this list of demands was released to end the standoff over that bill. And of course, those demands are unsurprisingly aimed at protecting Joe Manchin's pocketbook. So first off, he demanded that Biden scrap the clean electricity program. So now the New York Times explains that the $150 billion clean electricity program was considered the muscle behind Mr. Biden's ambitious climate agenda, which would reward utilities that switch from burning fossil fuels to renewable energy sources and penalize those who do not. Well, Joe Manchin happens to own a coal company that burns waste coal in West Virginia, coal that was too dirty, too bad to be, and too impure to be burned in normal coal plants. And so if you burn that, that actually increases emissions. And he makes money. The coal companies literally pay him to take and burn the waste coal that he then turns into energy. So, oh, look, gee, I wonder if this is a conflict of interest. So now Joe Manchin, again, gets double his congressional salary every year from that coal company and decides, oh, you know, that whole thing, that clean electricity program, I'm not in favor of that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Not good. And now West Virginia's other senator, Republican Shelley Moore Capito, also argued that this was designed to ultimately eliminate coal and natural gas from our electricity mix. Yes. Yes, it is. Great. But then added, would be devastating for my state. So now, you think of West Virginia, what do you think of? You think of coal, right? Think of coal mining and apparently, Republicans. You don't actually think of strong labor movements, which if you actually read about on the history of the labor movements in the country, especially labor miners, you would know that, I mean, these labor unions were not to be messed with. They literally would shoot at cops. Kind of awesome when you think about it, because they would fight against the company police and the police that were, of course, working on behalf of the giant corporations, the giant mining corporations. But we don't have that anymore. So West Virginia actually has, it's a very, very poor state. People do not have a higher standard of living. And so it turns out that coal happens to be one of the more higher paying jobs in the state. So you can understand why coal workers, coal miners are not exactly in favor of doing anything about the coal industry. And so even more so, of course, the coal bosses, the miner barons who don't want anyone legislating them out of existence, which, by the way, coal is dying. You know how many coal miner, or I should say coal workers, there are in the state of West Virginia? And you might be thinking, well, obviously it's got to be like 1 million, 500,000 to 100,000. No, 33,000, including approximately about 14,000 miners themselves. So you've got this tiny minority of a state that is literally dictating what we do on energy policy that affects the entire world. Broken. Absolute broken. And so now, again, why don't we just retrain the workers? I care about workers. I believe in worker solidarity. I don't think those workers should be left out in the cold. The 14,000 miners and the 33,000, total people who work in the mining industry in just West Virginia alone. No, I think they should be retrained. I think they should be given better jobs with better pay and better benefits. And so I wouldn't want to do anything about the coal industry until we can guarantee that those people have better jobs. And we can do that. We can do that very easily by switching over to alternative energy. It's not as if you can't build solar plants and things like that in West Virginia. You could absolutely do things like that. Unfortunately, of course, it is a red state, and they will not allow that. And yes, as some of you point out in the comments here, the Green New Deal, Riel and N says, allows for that. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, but again, why don't we just retrain them to get better jobs in alternative energy instead of allowing 33,000 jobs to destroy pretty much the entirety of our planet? 200 million people, and I did a report, I think it was last week, 200 million people live in areas under sea level. By 2100, they're going to be underwater. I mean, thousands of homes, millions of homes are going to be underwater in 2100, including parts, big parts of West Virginia, potentially. But no, the senator from West Virginia in 2100, if it still exists, will still argue, no, we need the coal jobs. We need the coal jobs. We have to have them. Again, there might not be anything left of West Virginia by 2100, but do you think Joe Manchin cares about that? No, it's all about how much money Manchin can stuff in his pockets. How did we get to a system where one person who owns a coal company gets to make decisions about whether or not we can do something about climate change? It is totally a broken, dysfunctional, this terrible system. And it's painfully obvious. And yet, Joe Manchin, guess what? He got his wish. Democrats removed that provision from the bill. In fact, at least 4 people in Washington close to the negotiations called the Clean Electricity Program dead. But that's not all. Apparently, President Manchin has also told the White House other demands. Yes, it's not just that. His other demands is that the child tax credit must include a work requirement and cap family income at $60,000. Now, the tax credit as it is incredibly popular. And if permanent, would actually cut child poverty in half. But Joe Manchin says, no, I'm not interested in cutting child poverty in half. No. I care about debt and deficits. Whereas, of course, I think it was The Intercept that broke this just recently, that Joe Manchin has been getting, actually has received about $1.5 million from different groups, different lobbying industry groups that are opposed to specific provisions in the Build Back Better program. So their whole purpose is to pay off Joe Manchin to water down or kill this bill. And that's it. That's it. Not only that, but he wants to impose stricter income caps on daycare subsidies that are in the bill, and is not interested in having paid leave proposals at all, as well as the proposal for caring for elderly and disabled people. And so, yeah. So Joe Manchin says, screw over the environment, screw over working people, screw over old people and disabled people. Let's screw over the children, because these children are going to have to be dealing with the worst of climate change long after Manchin is dead and buried with his millions of dollars. But again, he doesn't care. I wonder if he knows that you can't take it with you. I mean, that's one thing about money. You're dead. You don't exactly need it. So I don't know why he insists on stuffing more and more money into his pockets. He's already got enough. Why do you need more? Why are you going to put your own personal greed over the rest of humanity? And that's what it comes down to. And it's not just Manchin, it's, every Republican and corporate Democrat that puts their donors in fossil fuel. Henry Cuellar, another great example, one of the most corrupt corporate Democrats in the House of Representatives. By the way, from Texas, being challenged by Jessica Cisneros. Check it out. Check out her campaign. Maybe donate to her as well. Try to help her beat Henry Cuellar. She got close last time. You're gonna let these people that are corrupt basically end human civilization or destroy civilization. No, not on our watch. No, it's time we take the fight to the corporate Democrats. Time that we get them out of office. And it's time we end the corruption. Got to get money out of politics. Got to get these people out, progressives in, and do what we can to try to. I mean, we can stop climate change. The boat sailed on that one. In some cases, literally, or Manchin's houseboat has sailed on that at least. But what we can do, at least we can do, is try to mitigate and try to minimize and cut emissions as quickly as possible. And, one way we can do it, of course, pressure our politicians. The other way to do it, replace the politician. All right. So that's it. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't already, please like and share the stream. Please follow us. We go live, of course, every day, every weekday, I should say, at 4 p.m. Eastern, right here, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube as well. Thank you so much for subbing. Gabby Mathis, thank you for the incredibly kind $50 for that super chat. I really, really appreciate it. Virginia Thomas, again, says, if I was a parent, I would cancel my check and pull my kid immediately out of that school. That's what most, smart parents would do. But again, we're talking about people who signed up for this academy probably knowing that their policy, again, they call themselves, we're for freedom. And it's been a big attraction for people who are anti-mask, anti-vax, which in Florida, there are no mandates because Ron DeSantis says, I don't want no stinking mandates. So that's it. They canceled it. And so it's going to be a disaster in that school. COVID Academy, what it is now. All right. Very, very kind. Thank you again for all the donations and things like that. Let's see. Any subs over here on Twitch? Unfortunately, no, but we got to find who to raid into, by the way. I think we haven't done a Lumi raid in a while, but you could also raid into actual Jake. Oh, I'm not sure. And of course, there's always Hassan, but it'd be like a drop in the bucket. Very, very, very tiny drop. 43,000 people watching that stream. Crap. I think we'll go with actual Jake. Okay. But we'll see what he's talking about. Everybody else, thank you again. I appreciate it. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, everybody. See y'all tomorrow.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Who's got a hammer? There's insanity in the control room.
Wet ass keyword.
Please clap.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.